Okay, first things first, gotta get in tune, because no screwing around with a 7-string. They're bears to tune, man. Ooh. Flat on the G there. Sounds good to me. What's up, you guys? It's Pete Thorne, and hey, welcome to my studio. I'm not there now. I'm backstage in Wolverhampton, UK, getting ready for a Satchify band gig. But hey, just before I left on this tour, the nice folks over at Solar, which is OLA'S company, of course, sent me a couple pedals to check out. A great EQ pedal called the Chug EQ, and a tuner as well that's also got some really great features like a built-in boost. So I put them through the paces, and I wanted to show you guys what I came up with. They're really nice pedals. All right, first up on Peter Testing OLA'S shit is the Chug Tuner Plus stage tuner with boost. So this is a really good tuner. It kind of reminds me of Korg tuner. I don't know if it is a Korg tuner, but it looks like a Korg tuner when the tuner's on. So the tuner's really nice. I mean, I found it really easy to tune my 7-string, and, you know, the whole track sounds really in tune to me, so it works. But beyond the fact that it's got a great tuner in it, it's also a boost. And it's not just a boost like a clean boost, you can do that with it, but you can also tailor the EQ of the boost so that it cuts low end much in the same way as some classic pedals do. Now, I'm not sure the classic pedals that they were going for, but there's two different settings. I'm gonna assume it's probably like a screamer. Maybe OD1. There's two positions. There's a 720 hertz position and a 1K position that kind of filter low frequencies below that point. So I really like the 720 position. I thought that sounded great. You could put it in that position, bring the boost up to about just even a quarter or a third of the way up and turn it on, and it would just filter and really tame the lows and yet still boost into the front of the amp in a way that almost sounded like I'd modified my amp or something. Tightened it up, filtered it. So for all the rhythm guitar parts, I was using this and using that 720 filter boost setting to kick the front end of the amp. And then using the EQ boost, I dialed that in to kind of finish the tone. A couple other really great features on this tuner, two different outputs. On one of them, you can choose to have the boost bypassed, I think. Yeah, on the switch right here, effect through, out to, you turn that on, and I believe it'll just not boost. So you could just be boosting one amp and not another one, kind of cool. And it's your choice. And then you've also got a ground lift for that second output, which is really smart, because you're gonna have a ground loop. If you plug into two guitar amplifiers and they're both plugged in with 3-prong grounded cables, at least that's what we use here in the US. If you do that, then you're gonna have ground loop. So this allows you to break that ground loop. You'll get no buzz. And this is the Chug EQ Boost. So this pedal features 3 EQ bands, lows, mids, and highs. The lows and the mids are fully parametric, and the highs are a shelving EQ. You also get a high-pass filter, input level controls, and output level controls. And yeah, on those low and mid bands, you can control the bandwidth or the width of the EQ, as well as level and frequency. Now, it's designed to be used either in an effect loop or in front of an amplifier. I did both. For all the rhythm guitar parts, I was running it in the loop of my PT-15 amp. The PT-15 has a great core Marshall-y overdrive, but I've never thought of it as like total metal machine, like a, you know,
VHD Pitbull or like a Diesel or something like that. But I wanted to see if I could get the amp into that territory by using EQ, much in the same way that you can dial in something like a Mesa 2C Plus with the EQ that's included on most of those amplifiers. EQ post distortion to cut some mids, boost some highs, boost some lows, and really shape the tone. So that's why I did all the 7-string rhythm guitar parts in the song at the beginning of the video. And you can really transform the sound of an amp with an EQ pedal in the loop. You know, hit it the front end with a boost, put an EQ in the loop, and you can turn something like a stock JCM 800 into just like a vicious metal amp. So I'm going to play that rhythm guitar part in a minute here through my TC looper pedal, so that'll free up my hands and I can turn the knobs and stuff on the pedal, show you how I dialed in the EQ that was in the loop for those rhythm guitar parts. And then I'll also show you how I use the Chug Tuner Plus in front of the amplifier to actually filter the tone and boost there into the front end of the PT15. Because it was really the combination of the two pedals, that's how I achieved the sound. For a couple of the other guitar parts, I did run the pedal in front of the amplifier and kind of did the opposite thing as what I did on the rhythm guitars. So in other words, I boosted mid-range, actually cut some low end, and that's for the guitar solo and also for the clean guitar part actually in the song at the beginning of the video. I was going for almost like a filtered radio sound, like AM radio. So I'm going to show you those sounds in a little bit here, the solo and the clean tones, how I use the pedal to tailor the sound. Bottom line is a lot of guitar players overlook EQs and they'll buy things like pickups instead, trying to shape their tone. You know, definitely like a pickup is something that you can do to shape your tone, change pickups. But like an EQ is radical and you can really boost and cut and dial in things. And even if you've got pickups you maybe don't think that you like in your guitar, you can take something like this and like, for instance, like transform the sound of a muddy neck pickup. So it's very possible that an EQ could, you know, solve problems. If you got issues with your rig or you can't quite get to the tone, something you hear in your head, EQ could be the ticket. All right, so let's get into it. It's the Chug EQ Boost and the Chug Tuner Plus on Peter. Testing OLA'S shit. Here we go. For the clean guitar part, right before the end of the tune, I decided to go for super clean sound, compress it a little bit, and then I just boosted the mids way up with a really narrow bandwidth, so almost going for like an AM radio sort of sound, to just really do something that was contrasting. So for the solo in the song at the beginning of the video, I repatched the Chug EQ boost in front of my PT15 amp. I'm using the amp set exactly the same as I was for the rhythm parts, but listen to how different the tone is with the EQ in front and using it to boost. Now for this, I'm boosting mids. I'm boosting upper mids into the front of the amp. I've also got the output level and the input level boosted a bit, so I'm kicking the front end of the amp with gain from the Chug pedal. I'm cutting lows a little bit. I'm using the high pass filter to even like lop off all the lows below a certain point to just kind of tighten things up. I just wanted a real chewy, you know, upper mid-range cutting, singing tone, and I wanted the neck pickup to be real clear. So first the tone without the pedal, and then I'll turn it on. Thanks for watching my video on the Chug EQ Boost and the Chug TUNER Plus Boost pedal. Really good sounding pedals. Super useful for carving up your tone and dialing in the exact sounds that you hear in your head. I like that this tuner pedal also addresses some cool stuff, like, you know, having a second output with a ground lift. Great way to hit two amplifiers. And then it's got this great boost built in that, you know, can be a clean boost or also filter out lows. Just really super useful. And the EQ sounded great in the loop of my PT15 amp, also in the front to fine tune the sound of my pickups going right into the front of the amp and to boost into the front of the amp for singing sustain. What's not to like? You can check these out further at the website down there in the video description below. Click there, it'll take you more info about the Chug TUNER Plus and the Chug EQ Boost. Thanks for watching Peter testing OLA'S shit. We'll see you down the road. I'm Pete Thorne. Over and out.